And so I thought it would be really fun to tell folks about the worst thing I'd ever written up until now. I call this the brown lemonade litmus test. And the story of this goes back about 2 years now when I was in a fall production that the local theater did of The Sound of Music, and I got to play Herr Geller, which was just such joy because I got to rain on Maria's parade as the only dark cloud, and of course the impetus to cause the Von Trapps to flee across the Alps. Now, of course, along the way, I'm writing stuff in my notebook. I even do notes about 8 sequels for The Sound of Music that I see involving zombies and whatnot. And I'm in pretty great spirits. And then one day during a rehearsal, I wrote something, and it might have been the first time I ever really turned a phrase that I was happy with. So I showed it to a friend, and they're like, wow, that sounds really good. And so I tracked down this other friend of mine who'd been an editor on The Art of Chainmail. And I said, can I send you some stuff and see what you think of it? And I thought maybe it would be a way to get into the industry, find a publisher, finally be able to do something with my barely humorous speculative fiction. And so I sent her something, but then the response email that came back to me was completely shocking and not what I expected at all, because it had reacted to what I had written just by going completely overboard. It said it was the worst thing that they had ever read, possibly the most offensive thing that any person had ever written, and that I really had to think about myself. And it was just something that completely blew me away completely. And it was in this moment that I realized 2 things. The first thing was that people today take themselves way too fucking seriously. It's just, when words can send a person over the edge, it's amazing because it's like we've lost our ability to separate ourselves from the way words cause us to react. And I've always been the type of person to think twice and act once. Maybe it was something I picked up in the theater, I don't know. And of course the other thing was, I realized that if I was able to affect that kind of reaction from somebody so vividly, then I had a hell of a career ahead of me as a stand-up comedian. And that's where I discovered my true passion. Although I'm a pretty lousy stand-up comedian, and I'm still working on my speculative fiction writing, as most of you know. Anyhow, I wanted to share my point of view with you today because I think it adds a good forward for the material that you're about to witness. If you can't stand this, then please stay the fuck out, because it's going to offend you, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do as an author. And by allowing me to yank your chains, you're just, I don't know, playing into the trap. Anyhow, here's how it goes. When life hands you nothing but bullshit, you might as well make lemonade. Sure, it might taste a little funny and smell a little off, but you add enough sugar to anything, and somebody's bound to pay you for it.
I call this song Lemon Meringue. That was a bad joke, eh? But listen, this will be a good song.
Of course, this goes hand in hand with my own personal philosophy that we all come into this world playing on our own shit and are generally considered lucky to leave doing the same thing and yet somehow richer for the experience.